We have very little information about what thought is. In fact, it's not even very clear how you could have such information. But a lot of the mass of our information about thought is what we get by looking at language. So that yields the suggestion that, say, Humboldt took to an extreme, that they're the same. But again, you can introspect if you like. It's the only kind of evidence we have. It doesn't look as if they're the same. There seems to be lots of kinds of thought that just never can get articulated. And I don't see any reason to doubt that some kind of thought is going on with organisms that don't have language. There is, in computational cognitive science, there's a big enterprise, which in my view is a total waste of time, which goes back to a misreading of a very short paper by Alan Turing. Back in 1950, Alan Turing's great mathematician, and founder of modern computational science and so on. He had a paper called something like Do Machines Think? And that's led to, and he devised a test. It's now called the Turing test. He called it an imitation game. And there's been a lot of effort to try to, and what he argued is or what he's been interpreted as arguing, he didn't say it, is that if a machine means program, not a physical computer, but a program, if a program can pass this test, that'll show that it thinks. And if you're an employee of IBM, you get paid to construct Watson and other huge programs that are supposed to pass the test. You know, they defeat people in chess or Jeopardy or something. And you can get $100,000 if you pass if you construct such a program. There's one line in Turing's paper which seems to have been ignored. What he said is, the question whether machines think is too meaningless to deserve discussion. Okay, and he's right. The question whether machines think is like asking whether submarines swim, let's say. If you want to call that swimming, yeah, they swim. If you don't want to call it swimming, they don't. But it's not a factual question. It's do humans fly? I think in Japanese they do, somebody told me, but in English they don't. But these are not factual questions. They're questions about how we want to use the word. Now, there is something going on that we loosely refer to as thought, but we don't know much about what it is. And we'll never find out as long as attention is restricted to what's accessible to consciousness. Some of you may know that there are recent experimental results showing that decisions about, say, motor action, like whether to pick this up, that the decision is actually made microseconds before you're aware of making the decision. That's been misinterpreted as an argument about freedom of will. It has nothing to do with freedom of will. What it means is that decisions are made in a way that's inaccessible to consciousness. Okay, I don't think that should surprise anyone who's alive and has ever thought about what they do. But it is contrary to a widely held dogma. And I think that dogma has to collapse if we're going to learn about these things.